What's up, boys? Today we're going to talk about parasocial relationships. I've wanted to make this video for quite a while, and I think just about now is just about the right time. So, parasocial relationships are the relationship that somebody has with usually some sort of public figure that is often one-sided. So, for example, it's a relationship that you have with a popular music artist. It's the relationship that you have with a movie star, or in the case of this video, it's the relationship that you have with a popular YouTube creator or streamer or just online creator in general. Now, this has been a conversation that's been ongoing for, I'd say, about 5 years now, but especially since COVID and the increasing isolation of people, I think that it's become more and more of an issue, and it's become more and more of a conversational point, especially surrounding online content and how viewers and how streamers present themselves and the relationships between the two. So basically what happens is that you have a viewer, or you have, even a streamer does this too, to an extent, and I'll talk about that as well. But there are a lot of viewers who feel like they have a personal connection with a streamer or with a content creator. Now, obviously, in some cases, this is true. With very small streams, it's, if somebody's got 10 viewers and you're one of them, there's a good chance that they're going to remember your name. But whenever you get into larger streams, 1,000 plus people, even 500 plus people, it's going to be hard to keep track of everybody. And, as you scale things up even past that, it becomes even harder for somebody to really, get their name out there. Obviously, I've made a lot of friends that I have, I've made on my stream, and I talk to them semi-regularly, and they've met me through my stream, and I've just kind of gotten to know them over the years. But it's impossible really for people to have that connection with all of their viewers once they get over a certain size, and that's very, very low, at probably about 1,000 viewers or so. So the reason why this is unhealthy is I think that the world in general has become more isolated, and especially with COVID, you see a lot more people that are retreating, and they're no longer going out, for COVID reasons, and then also for different social reasons as well. So you're not seeing people like back in the 90s where you would just go outside and you'd see your friends up the street, you'd walk up the street and hang out with them. Well, now you go online and you donate to your favorite streamer who you think is your friend. And this is a very, very unhealthy relationship, and I think also it's represented in all kinds of other types of media as well. And I think probably the best and strongest example of this is probably with K-pop stars, and the fact that a lot of these Korean pop artists, many of them don't actually disclose whether they're in a relationship with another person or not, because a lot of their viewers, the idea is a lot of their viewers want to imagine themselves in a relationship with this person, and if that person is already in a relationship, it shatters the illusion. And I know that there are a lot of people, I think this is much more of a commonality with female streamers, that will I guess like hide the fact that they're in a relationship because they want people to donate to them, or they want people to watch the stream and have what would be considered a girlfriend or boyfriend experience by just having the stream on in the background and feeling like they're developing a connection to this person. Now, I think this is incredibly unhealthy behavior, and I think that it also is coming from both sides. I think that sometimes streamers enable this behavior, and I think that also, most cases, in my opinion, I think viewers allow this to happen. And I do know that there are people who do have genuine problems, and of course those people need to have help and everything like that. But I think that there also needs to come a point where there's a certain level of personal responsibility of what you're doing with your time and your money that falls at your feet. And I think that the displacement of that responsibility recently has been very unhealthy for everybody. And I want to kind of explain why, and also kind of give some of my personal experiences. So I think the first thing that I want to talk about is the way that it's affected me and the way that I've kind of had this relationship with people. Now, there's a few other points of interest about this that people regularly bring up, and I think one of them is people that donate large sums of money to streamers. The fact is that many large streamers that are making over, they're getting over 10,000 viewers even, these people do not need your money. Of course they don't. They don't need your donation money. To be completely transparent, I think for the past 4 years that I've streamed, I've made probably about $10,000 every month based on donations alone. And like back when I was getting like 1,000 viewers, I was making that much money. And now when I'm getting like 30, 40, 50,000 viewers, I'm still making the exact same amount of money. I think it's because usually I don't read a lot of them, and it's not really the same type of relationship because people don't feel like they're contributing in the same way that whenever you donate to a small streamer, because your money doesn't have that same level of impact. So effectively, this does lead to some miscommunications, because you will have people that, for example, will want to donate to you, and then they'll donate a lot of money or gift a lot of subs or something like that. And then that person will expect, or at least hope for, some form of personal connection with you. And I think that it's a very interesting conversation, because of course that, this person is supporting you and helping you out a lot, and in some ways you want to say thank you, and in some ways it's like, wow, yeah, thank you so much, man. Why does this guy like me so much? And there's a certain part of, I think that the loneliness and everything is not necessarily a one-way street. Oftentimes streamers spend a lot of their time by themselves, and so whenever they get a lot of attention from somebody and somebody likes them a lot, especially whenever they're a smaller streamer, it makes them feel special too. And I do think that should definitely be emphasized, that there is definitely a two-way street of these parasocial relationships, where many streamers, and I'm going to talk about this in my own case, feel like they're actually friends with their audience and their audience is their friend. And I think that both perspectives are unhealthy, from a viewer's perspective and also from a streamer's perspective. So the reason why I think this happens is that most of the time I think viewers more or less donate more for themselves and less for the streamer. And the reason why I'm saying that is because oftentimes, like, viewers, and this is more evident with streams that have TTS, text to speech, so you donate and it says what your message is, like reads it out with like a robot voice. Anybody that doesn't know, I don't have this personally. I've thought about doing it because I feel bad, right? If I see somebody donated like $20 and I didn't read their message, I feel like a dickhead, right? I'll be honest, I do. And sometimes I'll read them the next day, or make a comment about it later on. But at the end of the day, I do feel kind of like an asshole. And I've thought about doing that myself personally, but there are downsides. And you have people that will just donate the same letter, like L, 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 or 7777777_7, or there's a million different versions of it. And I think that probably the best example that I can use for this, of the viewers donating for themselves, is I will watch Quinn's stream sometimes, and it's a very popular thing with his stream. I think it's popular with a lot of other streams too. Is that the message will start off and it will be like, oh, thank you so much for your streams. I've had a really hard time recently. I've had my dog die, or, I've been like struggling a lot in school, and, to be able to turn on your stream and have that place where I can just forget about things, really, I'm just kidding, fuck you, L, 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 and it's just like a complete fucking, baiting them into thinking this is some really happy and like wholesome message, and then it's something fucking stupid at the very end of it. Like, obviously they're not doing that to like, to help the streamer, right? They're doing that so they can get a bunch of lol W's in chat. And I think that that's the reality with a lot of these donators, and I don't think that it necessarily is any more or less healthy, because the end result is the same, except for I guess like the place that it's coming from is different. So the end result is attention, and the place that it's coming from, instead of from the streamer, is from the chat. And I think that really that's kind of what all of this comes down to, is basically an economy of attention. And that's really how this has evolved. Donations popping up on the screen. Like, for example, if you don't have your donates pop up on the screen and you just have them, it's like, oh, thanks, like I know Kriparian does that, and some other people do that as well without reading them, you get less of them. I'll give you another example, is that back whenever I had a fraction of my viewership now, I actually had more subscribers because I would read every single person's name and their message. And at a certain point I stopped doing that, and it's not necessarily because I didn't want to or anything. It was more that I just felt like it disrupted the flow of the stream, because there were a lot of them. And by the way, if you're one of them, thank you. Regardless though, the more attention you give somebody for giving you money, the more of a positive reinforcement you create for other people doing the same thing in hopes of getting that same amount of attention. And I think that also there are a lot of streamers out there who will try to incentivize, and they will try to not just incentivize, but emphasize. I think it's probably a better word here. They will emphasize the idea that, I'm not your friend. I don't want to, this is not a parasocial relationship. And they'll say this very regularly to your viewers. And I think that does help. It's definitely a good thing. But I can counter that with the fact that viewers will delude themselves, especially people that have genuine problems will delude themselves into still believing that it's true or believing that they're the exception. If you don't believe me, talk to probably any girl about declining a guy who for some reason just thinks that she's playing hard to get. This is very, very common, and I think that it's very often, especially for people who are lonely and are looking for the right answer at any cost, to try to rationalize a no into a maybe or a pretend yes, or oh yeah, but I know it's different for me, or something like that. And I think that there's nothing really that you can do about that. And I also want to talk a little bit about the idea of donations and the way that people perceive donations and how that's changed over the years. So recently, in about the past year or so, we've seen a lot of other content creators. I know Dr. Lupo has done this. All of his donations go to charity. Pokimane capped her donations at $5. There are some other people that just don't accept donations. And in general, there are some streamers that do this. And in the process of doing this, they will post about it and tell everybody that they're not taking donations because they feel like they've made enough money or something like that. I think this is, of course, a personal choice for everybody, and it is to some degree a noble thing to do. But one concern that I do have with it is that I believe that it does kind of create this I'm not like the other ones mentality, and a place where effectively people can do this, and then by the nature of them doing this, it indirectly creates an expectation for it to happen for other people, and then by doing that, they're effectively making themselves look good by indirectly making the people that do take donations look bad. And fact is that not everybody is as as wealthy as some of those people are, and I'm also not saying that they're doing it. I'm just saying this is the result of the action. It's an outcome of it, and I do think that is not very healthy because it does foster resentment. And at the end of the day, I do think to a certain degree it is generating goodwill at the expense of resentment towards other people. And I don't really know exactly like what the right decision is. I've thought about turning off donations myself personally, and I'm not really completely against the idea. I think the reason why I don't do it is that I think they're funny to read sometimes, and it's also free money. That's another reason. I think that a lot of times streamers and people that have conversations about this talk a lot about people making too much money or people not making enough money or whatever. I personally believe that with streaming, you have a direct connection with your audience. Your audience effectively decides how much they want to pay you, and I can't really think of anything that's more fair than that. It seems to be pretty much a free market. People choose to donate or they choose not to donate. People choose to sub or they choose not to sub. At the end of the day, it's their decision. So if a person makes too much money, I can't really see how you can justify that or what the logic is behind it. Of course, obviously, there are unfairnesses in the world, but I think that you should focus on the things that are bad and not necessarily try to focus on the things that some people have that are good. Especially whenever you look at like movie stars and some of these CEO, Bobby Kotick, the CEO of Activision Blizzard, just got himself a little $200 million bonus. So I think there's a lot bigger fish to fry out there, and I think that from my perspective, the way that I've always seen it is that right now I'm at a very good place financially because of my stream, and I'm extremely lucky for that. And the reason why I don't really turn off that kind of stuff is that I don't really know what's going to happen in the future, and I think that it's kind of naive to expect that everything is going to be okay. Like, for example, in 10 years, what if like one of my parents gets cancer and I have to help pay for their treatment or some form of like advanced care for them? That could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or what if I get cancer? Or what if I get in an accident and I'm disabled? There's never really a way that I can feel completely comfortable unless you had like $100 million or something like that. So that's always been like my philosophy on it, is that even though things are going okay now, I always want to make sure that I have what I need in case something bad does happen to me or something bad happens to my family. And I think that's the way that a lot of people look at things in a lot of different industries, is that even though I can take care of myself just fine. For instance, I make I spend, I mean, probably like $2,000 a month. Like, that's pretty much all the money that I spend. I probably spend more money gifting subs to like other people in my stream or to like other streamers than I spend on everything else combined, including my house payment. So I'm very frugal with my money, and the reason for that again is because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Fact is that streaming is it's not like it's a very easily transferable job. Like if you are an attorney, you get fired or you lose your attorney job, there are a lot of other places that can hire an attorney. If you, thank donations and watch YouTube videos and play video games for a living and you get fired from that, you're kind of back to square one. So that's kind of my perspective on it, and that's why I've always tried to have at least a healthy perspective on it. I don't try to make the most amount of money possible, but if there's a way that I can make money, I don't really feel like it's harmful to my audience, I'll take advantage of it, because I never know what's going to happen in the future, and I want to make sure that I can secure the best future for my family and for myself as possible. And I think a lot of people look at it that way, but there are a lot of people that view it as unfairness. But from my perspective, I think that a lot of that view of unfairness comes from the root of that feeling comes from envy or jealousy, or looking at their own perspective and thinking that they should have more than what they have. And I think in many cases that's probably true. And the fact is that with like inequality now, and I don't want to get into a whole lot of that, but it is very bad. But I see this relationship that streamers have with viewers, and for me personally, I can talk about kind of what's happened to me. And I remember this happened twice, and I always viewed my viewers as my friends. And I'll give you two examples of this happening and kind of what did jade me for a while. I was very jaded for a while after this occurred. I think the first time is that whenever I was playing Dark Souls, and I had a lot of trouble playing the game. I got really upset playing the game, and I had a percentage of my audience that kind of turned on me, and the people that I thought were my friends just immediately just stopped liking me, stopped watching me. They thought I was a loser, and they just made fun of me. They made like alternate accounts on like Reddit to like say bad stuff about me and everything like that. And as a person who is just kind of coming up into streaming and has this community of people who they really believe is like their group of people, and you really feel at home in your stream, to have something like that happen is really kind of a shock. And it took a long time for me to get over that, and for me to not have that lasting resentment. And I think that the same thing happened to me again about a year ago, whenever my ex-girlfriend and I announced that her and I were dating, and then I did some things with her on the stream, and I had a lot of people who were trying to psychoanalyze my relationship, trying to tell me that she was like a bad person or some version of that. And from my perspective, like, these people have never met me, they've never met her, but they have all these opinions about it. And whenever I would view my audience as my friends, I did really feel kind of betrayed. And it took a long time for me to get over that, and it took a long time for me to have a more healthy outlook on that. And I think to a certain degree, that feeling that I had was my fault. Effectively, that these are people that are just watching your stream for entertainment, and some of them may become your friends if they watch you long enough and you do content with them and you hang out with them and stuff like that, sure. But the majority are just people that are watching because they think that it's funny, and then after your stream is over, they move on to somebody else. And it really took a long time for me to kind of come to that realization and have a more healthy perspective with how I would view my viewers and how I would treat them. And I think that I kind of went back and forth where I was like, oh, I don't really care about it. And it's just like every step of the way. And I think that this is really just kind of it's a learning experience for really all of us, because the truth is that it's a new experience. Like, obviously you've had like a musician or something like that has like weird fans, and the fans buy all of their stuff, and the fans want to buy their old clothes, etc., right? But you didn't really see it as widespread as we do now with content creation and the amount of people that are trying to get unnecessarily close to you. And it's hard for me to kind of understand that. Like, and this is also the perspective that I have is also like one of the reasons why I like doing my streams on my Zach Rahr account, my second stream, is because I could have that more personal connection with my viewers. And for the whole time that I did that, I did all that for free because it's something that's fulfilling to me and it makes me happy and I like it. Is that unhealthy for me to do? I think there's a question. I don't know. Maybe in a little way, it probably is. But it did make me happy, and I enjoyed it, and it was fulfilling in a way. And I think that a lot of people get something out of it, and I think that it's okay to get something out of it as long as it's not getting something out of you. And what I mean by that is that it's okay to really, really enjoy a stream, and maybe it's okay to put on a girl's stream and think she's your girlfriend, and maybe you're really lonely and it's just kind of a bad day and it makes you feel better. I'm not going to shame somebody for that, but I'm also not going to say it's healthy. And I'm also not going to say it's the streamer's fault either. At the end of the day, I think every person is responsible for their own behavior. And I think every day, everything that people do is ultimately their own decision. And I do think that streamers could do a better job making it more clear what the boundaries of their friendships are and the relationship with their viewer is. But at the end of the day, whenever a viewer pulls out their credit card to gift subs or to subscribe or to donate money, this is a choice that is not made by the streamer, as much as I'm sure many streamers wish it was. The fact is that they make that decision on their own. And I think that displacement of responsibility onto streamers and content creators for being responsible for people who are irresponsible for their money is actually harmful for everybody, because it ferments discontent towards streamers, and it also creates a sense of lack of accountability for the people that are doing it. And I think this also, this video's already kind of gone on for a while, and I have a lot to talk about with this, but I apologize. But this also kind of moves into the idea of the whole term of the influencer. I see this term used very often, and I hate it. I really hate it, because I think that the fundamental idea of the term is the fact that you can change people's minds and you can control how people think. And I think that by using that term and then people referring to people as that term, it implicitly assumes that this person is able to dictate other people's thoughts and other people's opinions. And even though that it's true, I think to an extent, and in some cases good reasons, but I do think that by using the term and by talking about it regularly in that way, I do think that it reinforces the idea, and I actually consider that unhealthy. I prefer just content creator, or the way I've always viewed myself is just like the crazy guy that's on, under the bridge in the intersection, and every single time that it's a red light, he comes down to the stoplight and all the people that are going to work, and he starts trying to play his flute or play a guitar or something like that, and somebody gives him $5 hoping that he won't attack their car. And that's how I view myself, a street performer, and if people want to give me money, great. If they don't, it is what it is. I'll probably still keep doing it anyway. This channel's completely unmonetized. It's because I love it. It's what I'll do forever. And so I do think that the entire relationship between viewers and streamers is something that's still being worked out. It's a new industry. It's a new frontier of the internet, and especially now that you see more and more people online, the more prevalent nature of it has led to some of these more extreme cases. I don't think the solution to that is by removing donations. I don't think the solution to that is by like trying to never talk to your viewers. Like, for example, I have my DMs open on Discord and also on my on Discord and also on Twitter. People can DM me. I rarely am able to like really respond to too many people, but if somebody needs to get a hold of me, and sometimes they'll tell me like, hey, I watched your streams, and they've really meant a lot to me, and I'll read those messages and it will make me feel good. And I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but what I do know is that oftentimes it makes me feel good. And I think that creating more strict boundaries, and I think also more of a focus around the mental health of viewers, and I think mental health in general. I think mental health overall has had a very bad stigma over the past, like, pretty much forever, really, in our culture here in the U.S. And recently it's gotten a little bit better, but I think there are some people who are trying to overcorrect because they feel like it's too much okay to like be to have like certain like proclivities. Um, and there are some people that shame it even more now, which I also think is unhealthy. So overall, I think that the best way to handle these kinds of things is just to be honest with your viewers if you're a streamer, to be direct, and also to be compassionate. I try to be as nice as I can to my viewers, and at least sometimes. I try to be as nice as I can to my viewers sometimes, and I try to just have the most entertaining stream possible. And I think that there are just so many more different elements to this, and it's a 25-minute video now, and I think that I could probably go on for another 20 minutes, and the odds are if you probably watch my stream tomorrow, I will. But for now, I think this is a pretty good place to stop. The truth is that parasocial relationships are not healthy. They're not healthy for streamers, they're not healthy for viewers, they're not healthy for anyone. And I do think that certain streamers do promote them too much, and I don't think that's a good thing. But I also think that ultimately the responsibility of being taken advantage of for many of these viewers falls on their footsteps. It's their responsibility to have their own accountability for themselves and to make their own decisions and to be smart with what they're doing with their time and their money. And I think that that should be a stronger emphasis, and I think that more and more people are at least starting to feel that way as well. So anyway, guys, I'd actually be really curious to hear about your thoughts and kind of where your perspective is and kind of what your experience is with streamers, and if you've ever felt that way with a parasocial relationship with a streamer. I'd be curious to know like kind of how that went out, because I do read a lot of these comments, and it's very interesting for me because I consider these kinds of conversations very interesting. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.